God bless football, Billy Gill.
God bless football, Mikey A.
God bless football, Fuentes.
Oh, man. Where is he?
Where is he?
Thank you. God bless football, Stugotz.
Take your time.
Disembodied voice of Mike Fuentes. Billy, what was so funny at the beginning? Me not being ready to start?
Well, it was a weird thing where I counted us in, but you were starting because you always start. So I just kind of stopped, and then we're just kind of waiting. But it's okay.
The rare time with a person whose first voice you're going to hear is not the person counting us in. I was thrown off by it. I thought you were just going to start, and we're back.
But here's the thing, is that the people listening and watching at home don't know who counted us in because all that gets taken out. So it doesn't really matter.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Anyway.
We're going to have Todd McShay, and I'm very excited. Boomer Esiason is going to join us here on God Bless Football. Booms. Oh, man, I was almost his boss, Billy.
Jeez.
He still would have been the boss. Is that what we're saying?
I mean,
Imagine me walking into that studio and telling a guy with a 15 share in New York how to do his show.
So I was told, and I don't know if this was something that was revealed on air or not, or if this was just something that you told this person that they then told me. I was told that in those negotiations, you asked for a microphone to be installed at your desk so that you could just turn it on and chime in on any show whenever you wanted to. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah, it's true. I've talked about it on our show, but yes, that is 100% true. Because here's the deal. They were going to call me in every other minute, and I have stuff to do, like why are back-to-back car spots running during a commercial
Why
break?
do you think that any show was going to call you in every other minute?
Listen, I know Tyranny, I know Licata, I know Gio very, very well. Roberts and Barber, I know them. They know me. They would call me in. They want my opinions on stuff. Stu, can we do this? Can we do that? And I said, listen, I'm a busy guy. I got traffic. I got sales to deal with. Just put a microphone at my desk. How about that?
This is insane. You honestly believe that all of these shows that have long existed there at WFAN were just going to want to have you on the show constantly, and you weren't going to be able to get any work done, and it would be kind of like a burden for you to be on all these shows. So let's cut out the middleman. Let's just put a microphone right here at my desk for whenever they need me. Not because I want to come on, because they will need me.
Right. Yes, that is true. That is accurate. Everything you're saying is accurate. It's where the negotiation stalled, Billy, to be honest with you.
And you didn't want to back down on that one.
We were one mic at my desk away from me taking the WFAN program director's job.
And again,
a mic away.
It's not because you wanted it. It's because you were just trying. It was in the name of efficiency.
Yes. Yeah. Not because I wanted to talk on their shows, just in the event they wanted me on their shows. That's all. That's all.
Efficiency and productivity.
That's
just trying to be a team player, Billy. You know me.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you something. At this point in your career, if you move on, are you still going to be Stugotz?
Well, that's a good question. I think I'm stuck with Stugotz, right?
I don't know.
Not that I don't view that as a bad thing. Stugotz has really helped my career. It has helped me stand out, and so I'm okay with it. I mean, my real name is John Wiener, so
yeah. Imagine if
Stugotz
Scott Van Pelt left, SVP left, and he's all of a sudden he's like Larry Van Pelt, and you're like, who? Doesn't hit the same. LVP.
Like Boomer Esiason. His real name is Norman Esiason.
I know. I saw that. I did see that.
Norm Esiason, not the same as Boomer Esiason.
No.
A totally different guy doing accounting somewhere, right?
That's your dentist.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Excited for Todd McShay. We going to McShay first?
Yeah.
All right. Todd McShay to recap the draft. Boomer Esiason to talk about nonsense. Next. All right, Todd McShay is with us. Very exciting. We're recapping the draft here in Detroit. It was a great weekend. Mikey thinks the draft has gotten too big. I have a lot of questions about how McShay absorbed the coverage, not being a part of it this year. I also have questions about what the Jets did. A lot of questions. But we start in the obvious place, Toto. Mm-hmm. Billy has some questions for you, McShay, about Toto. Go ahead, Billy.
Well, Todd, we were talking before you got on tonight. Mikey is going to I believe, Toto and Journey concert together. And he told us, I bet that you guys know 3 Toto songs, and no one here believes that they know 3 Toto songs. So how many Toto songs do you know?
I literally don't even know who the hell Toto is. I know Journey.
All right.
And I wouldn't lie. Like, I have some bad taste in music and stuff, but what is Toto saying? Give me the greatest hit.
Well, Africa.
Yes.
Oh,
Africa.
There you go. Okay. It took that song to jog your memory?
Yeah. I didn't know Toto. Sorry. I can tell you about a guard from Grand Valley State and, stuff like that, but I didn't know it was Toto.
Right. How many Journey songs do you think you can name?
I'm the worst with like the actual. If you give me the song, I can say, oh yeah, that's Journey, but I don't know the names.
Wait, Mikey, can you get a bunch of songs and we'll ask McShay Journey or not Journey? Okay.
Oh, I like this game.
Yeah.
Your job just got hard, man. Sorry.
And he has so many questions for you.
Why do I feel like you guys want to talk about anything but the draft today?
Nah, I mean, I don't know. That's us.
I don't care. Please.
Well, Mikey, go ahead and float. Yeah, you've been talking draft nonstop, right? Like,
should be to myself this year, but yeah.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. But Mikey, go ahead. Ask Todd what you were telling us before he came on.
No, listen, I think the draft as a TV product has just gotten way too big. They're giving it away. Everybody can do a pick now. Everybody can come up and do a pick. And the problem is, I think Pat McAfee kind of ruined it for everybody because he came on and he was very fun and he was like, oh, yeah. But now every former player wants to come up and they all think they're comedians and they're not. And then it takes 45 minutes in between every pick. And I'm just done with it. Let's get the picks going.
Well, the interesting part, too, like being on the set and doing the draft, like I kind of didn't even, I heard people talking and all that, but I would get the pick of, I don't know, maybe a minute before and kind of know what was happening as they were getting ready to go to whatever bozo's coming up now to present the draft pick or whatever salute we have, which is wonderful. But I would be focusing on, all right, Johnny Smith just got drafted. Where are they going? What's the fit? All of that. This is the first, you got to realize this is the first time I've sat since I started this job in 1999 that I've sat at home and watched. And it's kind of maddening. And I guess part of it is because I've been so much a part of it in years past, but also just getting texts from guys in the league. We just took this player or he just came off the board, blah, blah, blah. And it's wait, we're a pick and a half behind that. So the TV is, it's happening a lot earlier than what goes on. And I was texting some people in production being where's the urgency? It didn't feel we're bouncing from here to there. So I agree with you, Mikey A. I really do. I kept saying to people who were asking and who I was going back and forth with, it needs to feel more like election coverage. That urge, the board, and we're in Wisconsin in this tiny little town, and let's go through here. And, to me, that there's so much going on. If I'm getting all these texts, I can only imagine what's going on, in draft rooms and all the conversations and people trying to figure out there's a lot more to cover in this draft than the stuff that's getting covered. And that getting 1 year away to sit back and actually watch it, that wherever I land next, that's going to be my whole pitch. Is there's so much more urgency going on that the phone calls being made, who's still on the board, what would fit in this spot. I feel like we've gotten away from that as it's gotten more commercialized, and I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a TV producer, I'm not a TV executive, but there's a format where it's the pace is faster, we're bouncing around, we're getting what are you hearing? And really looking at who's still on the board and where could they go in this pick. I feel like we for some reason we used to do it a little bit more 7, 8, 9 years ago, and we've gotten away from it.
Wait, so this is interesting. So you were being told a pick and a half before teams were even on the clock. That next pick has already been made. Man. So what I wonder,
and I don't know. Sorry to interrupt you, Billy G. But you could, even if you flipped over, because a couple of times I wanted to see what Belichick was saying, right? Interesting opportunity to see what Belichick was. So I would flip over and see what Bill was talking about in that Pat McAfee show. And they had closer to the live feed on. And they if you go back to ESPN or ABC or NFL Network, it would be Jaguars on the clock, pick is in, but they wouldn't have put it. And if you clicked over a couple of times, I even noticed it there in the McAfee show, they kind of had more of the live, it would say the pick was in there. And so I don't know how that worked, why one would be able to show it a little bit earlier than the other. But that was the case. That gave you a feel of what was really going on. I don't even think they were exact real time, but they were closer too.
I'm just curious that how long maybe that's happened and you just haven't realized because you're covering it. So you're just in the middle of it and you don't even realize what's going on TV. Because before you got on, Mikey was telling us that the Caleb Williams video was released and you could hear them say like, hey, we're picking you, but the NFL's asking us not to announce it until 5 minutes are left on the clock. So I wonder how much of it is almost just for TV. Like it's just a TV product and the draft is almost slowed down for the sponsors, for the at-home experience, and when in reality, that's not how the draft is at all.
I don't think it's a secret. I mean, having like been around it and sat in those like the production meetings before, like it is very much. If you want to find that out, you can go find that out. That's the case. And it's they've cleaned it up. They like for a couple of years there, it was like 2-3 picks behind, and they've tried to keep it closer. But there's absolutely a distance between when the player's picked and when it's released on television. And the other thing that I do appreciate, though, if they are going to, because of commercials, because of the sponsored elements, because of the people who are coming up to present, if they are going to take a little bit longer than when the actual phone call was made and the pick was in, then don't have people releasing it. Because it's like, what are we doing there? Because remember there was like that couple of years where people were like tweeting it out like, hey, the pick's in, the Jaguars took this player at 16, and then TV would be like 5 minutes later. Well, that was the real gap, right? That was the real gap that was happening. But the league has asked, and only based on the fans saying, I don't want to know, and then be sitting here watching a broadcast where I'm getting 5-minute-old information. So that's kind of the compromise that's being made.
So how quickly, I guess, from when a team is on the clock, do they make the pick? Because we were saying also before you got on, like, it's funny how in the first round, when you know the most about all the players, it's taking teams 10 full minutes to make a decision. And then in rounds 6 and 7, every like 30 seconds, they're like, we'll just take this random person.
Right.
So how quickly in the first round do teams actually know this is who we're going with?
Sometimes teams like to make a statement and go and put the pick in early, like, if there's a question of whether they should have, or just to basically show like we love this guy. But for the most part, honestly, like when you get past picks 2 or 3, teams want to wait. Like they know who they're going to pick if they're sticking and picking, but phone calls are happening, and it's like people last minute calling in, and maybe, all right, let's say you're 3 in New England and the Giants are calling and say, hey, we have this deal. Well, you hang up the phone and we don't have a deal to move up from 6 to 3. But if you're the Patriots, you're like, all right, we said no to that offer, but we've got 6 minutes left on the clock. Let's just stay here and kind of wait it out and see if they come back. It's like a negotiation for a house or for anything, right? Like you say absolutely hard no, and then you get a call back an hour later on a home, or you get a call back in this case like 2 minutes later. It's like, we'll throw in an additional second-round pick next year or something like that. So they're legitimately waiting in the first round. What happens when you get to the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th? Trades are made, and they're made quickly. It's like, all right, we'll give you our 5th for your 6th later in the draft, and we'll give you a 7th next year or something. So they happen fast at that point.
Todd, plus you're talking about teams that were at least bad recently. 10 minutes of ESPN talking about their team. They like that. They want the full 10 minutes. They want the full allotment of time. Hey, talk about us, Yeah,
I don't think the general manager or the scouts really care, to be honest. But I do think
the team does.
I think the owner does.
Yes.
And I think the PR people are in their ear. So everyone's working together to make sure that they get their 10 minutes on the clock and that the picks aren't being sent out early. Like, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and this is kind of a fine-oiled machine. But in the meantime, like, it's not really the reality in terms of the pace and what's going on in the league.
So how was it for you? Because considering your name is synonymous with the draft, this is the first year you're not covering the draft. You're a large part of why the draft has gotten to the place it's gotten to, you along with Mel and ESPN's coverage of the NFL draft. How was that experience for you watching it from home?
It was definitely weird, but I was strangely at peace with it. I think because I'm working hard on what's next, where my next step is. I'm excited about what's next. It's been a great year. Like the best phone call I got was from Kuiper after I got laid off. And he said, and I'm not getting into all that, but just to have a friend call you and give you advice, like, hey, listen, you've had 20 something years where you haven't had, any significant time off. You've been in the grind and all that. You've got 2 kids who are 8 and 9 years old. You're probably for the next 20 years, and for as long as they're living under your roof, you're not going to have this time. So just dive in, and for Mel to give me that advice, I was like, because I got a lot of advice from a lot of people, right? And a lot of people I respect. But for Kipe to call me and be like, hey, focus on your kids and your family this year, and you'll never regret that. He's like, I wish I had time with my daughter, Lauren, to spend a year where I didn't have to get caught up in all this. Like, so I'm telling you as the old guy, he said, just make sure you do that. And I did. And so I'm weirdly at peace with it, but it was strange. It was strange. I found myself being a critic, like really critical of what was being said, the picks that were being made. Like, no one was listening. I'm at home, no one's listening. And then my son, it was cute. My son on Friday, he took my board, the top 100 board, and was crossing everyone off and was kind of looking at, give me side stares when a player was picked who wasn't in my top 100, because he knows it's kind of like we all kind of compete to see who can have the most players drafted in the top 100. Like,
right.
What's up, Dad? Like, Dad, come on, where is he? I'm like, I got him at 109. He's like, yeah, not good enough. So that was fun. It was obviously like not where I envisioned, not where I'll ever be again. But for this year, it was just fine enough.
I will tell you, if Todd McShay watching at home with his son was an option, I would have chose that option. I'm serious.
Oh, it was funny. It was funny.
I can't, but enjoyable too, right? And that's a great job by Nick.
Absolutely,
awesome.
man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Who's the team? What's the pick, I guess? Let me do it this way. The pick that surprised you the most in the first round, but surprised you in a good way.
I mean, everyone's going to say Michael Penix, right? Was the most surprising pick going number 8 to Atlanta. I wouldn't say it necessarily in a good way. We can get into that one. I was really surprised that Chicago stayed home and took Rome Odunze, the wide receiver from Washington, because they only had 4 picks in the draft, and all the talk was leading up. And every other team I talked to was like, yeah, we're getting calls. Chicago wants to move out of 9. And you got to remember, like, so I'm talking to some people and everyone's mentioning, like, we're trying to get, maybe someone can get up to Atlanta. And everyone always says, like, somebody could, meaning it's like I'm calling about a friend, right? Somebody could maybe get up to Atlanta, and that's where we could take this guy or wide receiver there. So I really thought, based off all my calls, that Chicago was going to move out of number 9. And that kind of set off a chain of events, right? Like, Chicago staying and taking Odunze at 9. Now the Jets, what do, Stu?
They trade down. Yeah.
Trade down, right?
Yeah.
So what does that tell you?
Right. Wow. Well, Mikey, are you listening to what he's saying?
Yes.
Saying without saying, right?
Right.
So, but
oh my
but in
God.
doing so like, I love that pick. I was just very surprised. You asked me, like, what pick was surprising, but you turned out like you really like. I love that pick. Rome Odunze, outside of maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. and Ricky Pearsall, I would say those are the 3 receivers in this draft who are the best route runners and the most NFL ready. Now, Malik Neighbors, most dynamic, like closest thing to Tyreek Hill that we've had in this year's draft class. But in terms of like guys like plug, play, I know your favorite cliche term, but guys who are going to step in right away and are ready to play with the weapons that Chicago has already, with veterans at wide receiver, with Kmet at tight end, bringing in Swift at running back, with depth at the running back position. Like, this is the best situation that a number 1 overall pick at quarterback has had. And Chicago did that by maneuvering around the last couple of years and getting, lining it up for this year. And I thought they hit a home run with that pick at number 9, but it set off a chain of events. It was surprising. The Jets move out. If it was going to be a weapon at that spot, and it was going to be a receiver to get a number 3 receiver and a guy who could contribute right away for the Jets. If not, the debate then became, do we go with Brock Bowers at 10, or do we trade out and get the left tackle? And I can just say this, they got value in moving back just 1 spot, kind of fleeced Minnesota. But Minnesota had, like, at that spot, like, they didn't have to give up a bunch to go up to 3 to get Drake May because they couldn't make that move, right? And so JJ wasn't worth it to give away a whole bunch to move up to get him. I think they expected Penix and JJ to be on the board. So that whole thing was interesting. But they get JJ McCarthy by moving up just 1 spot. Didn't give away a whole lot, but still had to give away enough. The Jets move back and get like, it wasn't about a right tackle. And everyone was saying, well, why wasn't it like Talise Fuaga or one of these other offensive tackles? It was about getting a left tackle because you get Smith, who's 33 years old, injuries, all that. So you've got to, not only are you looking for the future at left tackle, but it could be this year. And the one thing that the Jets know, and everyone, even the common fan knows, the only thing that's going to derail the 2024 season is if you can't keep that guy in your backfield upright and on the field. And so it was the right decision, and they got value for it by moving back just one spot.
Yet it seems by what you're saying, they wanted Rome Odunze. Like they were surprised the Bears took Rome, right?
It would lead you to believe, right?
Right, of course, yes.
Yeah, it would lead you to believe. I can't say definitively, but it would lead you to believe based off of what their needs were, and where Odunze was in a lot of teams' boards, like one of the 6th, 7th best players in the draft. But was he worth? Like, is he worth? They already didn't have a 2nd-round pick, so was he worth it to go up like a couple spots to go get him and give away another? No, it's not. It's not worth it. And we got to protect Aaron Rodgers. So let's stay pat. Let's see what falls to us. Odunze's there. Maybe that's the pick. I would guess it's the pick without knowing. But if not, then let's see if we can move back a little bit and get Olufanu, who to me is the 2nd best pure left tackle in this class behind Alt out of Notre Dame.
Go ahead, Mikey.
No, you were talking about how maybe the Bears were making calls and stuff, and leading up to the draft, we thought all these trades were going to happen. Everything was saying, "Oh, the Chargers are going to move out. Maybe the Cardinals want to move out. The Patriots are going to move out." And we kind of didn't see anything. And then towards like the 2nd round, it became a flurry where it was there like a gap in skill there that made it happen like that.
No, I think two things. First of all, I think what happened was there were teams that were considering moving out, but at the end of the day, it was kind of like hold, like let's see who's on the board when we get there.
Right.
And we had this run where it's like, oh, the guy we want is there. Fuck it. Like, let's just take him. Let's not get cute. Let's not move back and move around. Let's just take the guy we want, right? And be satisfied with it. And I thought Arizona, like there's a lot of talk about Arizona maybe moving down a couple spots. Well, if you love Marvin Harrison Jr. that much and you think he's got a chance to be a generational talent at wide receiver, why not just take him at 4? Why not? If you move back to 6, the Chargers kind of wanted to move out of 5 if they got the right deal to move back. And so someone could have leapfrogged them. So there was a lot of that where teams got there and they're like, let's just take our guy. I really thought the Chargers would move out of 5. They stayed there and took the top offensive tackle in the class and kind of set the tone for Harbaugh and this new regime, right? At 6, I heard all week. There are certain teams that you start making notes on, right? The last couple of years, all the news, all the reports from reliable sources that tells me in the league that they're getting, hoodwinked as well. The Giants are doing a really good job of just leaking a little bit of information right before the draft. And everyone I talk to in the league is like, nah, they're not taking Neighbors there. They don't need another OBJ. They don't need another Kadarius Toney. Like they're done with that nonsense. They're taking Odunze, right? If you asked anyone in the league, that's what they were saying. So that was interesting to see. They just stick there and they're like, turning the card, Neighbors. And I think I have Neighbors as the number 1 receiver in this class. And a lot of guys in the league do too. No one really wanted to talk about it because Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a great, great player. And he's cleaner and he's safer and he's a better route runner. He's bigger, he's physical, all those things. But if Neighbors hits, look at what Tyreek Hill did for Miami, right? Like that, he could be that kind of dynamic, explosive weapon. They're gambling on that, and I think it was worth the gamble. Just to go back, Mikey A, real quick. The 2nd round, you saw some movement, and a lot of it. This receiver class is really deep, right? But you saw late in the 1st, you saw 3 receivers come off the board. What was it, like the last 4 or 5 picks? The last 2 picks in the 1st were receivers. Ricky Pearsall, I like the pick. I said to you guys, I think it was last week, I'd take him late in the 1st. Like I like him that much. But when they saw a name like Pearsall come off the board, and you start and you get overnight and you're talking, you kind of regroup and you're meeting with all the people, it's like this receiver group's really deep and we can get some good guys, but the ones that are going to be huge impact guys, there's only a couple left. And that's why you saw, trade ups, and you saw, Buffalo with Ladd and Ladd McConkey and kind of you saw a quick run early on and then the defense, the defensive guys started to go early in the second too.
What team made the first round pick where Todd McShay is sitting at home watching on his couch with his son and he's going, son, what the is that team doing?
Oh, jeez.
I know you don't curse at your son. I know. Just
not yet. It's getting closer though by the day.
You'll get there.
Bo Nix.
Really?
Bo Nix.
Scratching your head, right?
I'll tell you one thing. Sean Payton he gambled on himself, and he's got every right to do it. His career, right. Super Bowl winning coach. He either Drew Brees was phenomenal or he made Drew Brees phenomenal, depending on who you talk to. Everyone in the league that I talked to had Bo Nix as a second round grade. Really good backup. Maybe if developed properly, he's a solid starter. They always, usually when every mock draft and every conversation you have pre-draft has one player going to the same place, it's false information, or it's some kind of, like people are just, one person says something, then everyone kind of follows. In this case, it was true. I mean, I remember having a conversation with Kuiper. He and I were talking. He's like, this is the first and last time I'm ever going to ask you anything. I'm doing a mock draft for tomorrow. I don't want to give Bo Nix to Denver, but everything I'm hearing, and I was like, listen, Mel, like, there's not another team I've talked to in the league. If you're asking me, there's not another team I've talked to in the league who has a first round grade on him. I was like, but I'm hearing the same stuff. And so if you put Bo Nix at number 12 to with Denver in the first round, regardless of where you did it, that was the correct call on a mock draft, right? Yeah. But my God, did Sean Payton bet on himself? Like, yes. This is going to be fun to watch. Like, if you're a football guy and you really know how to evaluate quarterbacks and you know what you're seeing in Bo Nix, and even if you can get over the Auburn stuff, because it was tough to watch, and you can just focus on the last couple of years at Oregon, there's still there's enough doubt where you just say, all right, let's take him in the second. At best, we get a solid starter, but we're probably getting a great backup and a great character guy, someone you would love having in the locker room, who's going to do all the work behind the scenes for the starting quarterback, all that stuff. So I can't say a negative word about Bo Nix outside of the tape didn't match up with being drafted that high and presumably to be the starter for the Broncos organization moving forward. But if there's one, there's only a handful of guys in the league where you say, if he knows something more than I do, maybe it'll work. So I'm just going to sit back with popcorn now and watch and be like, I hope I'm wrong on this evaluation, because it'll be really cool to watch someone who's great with quarterbacks identifying something in a quarterback that just about nobody else in the league did. And if he goes and wins, it's the all-time, like, told you. The Super Bowl run, winning the Super Bowl, that will not be, in my opinion, as impressive as it will be making a deep playoff run with Bo Nix as a starter in the next 3-4 years. That to me will be one of the all-time coaching jobs.
If he really wants to impress us, he'll do it with Zach Wilson. I mean, just a flex. I'm saying, just
that quarterback room is interesting. There's a lot of punchlines in there. Yeah.
So who had top to bottom? What team had the best draft?
Chicago didn't have a ton of picks, but what they were able to do, to me, that's going to be game changing for them. But I think Arizona, they had a lot of picks, and I know, I read all these things about people saying, well, the value wasn't there. Well, based off of whose value, I mean, when you get Marvin Harrison Jr., when you got a quarterback like Kyler who's going to need someone who can actually rely on, and then you go and get Darius Robinson, whose pressure percentage doubled this past year when he was moved to edge, and so he's a guy who can play outside and play inside and is a difference maker. Elijah Jones, was he taken a little too early out of BC as a cornerback? Yeah, according to me, he was, but he's a really good player. Tanner McLaughlin was the underrated tight end in this year's class, who I think is going to really surprise. He was picked 194 overall. There's nothing about his game that I hate. I think he's still developing, and I think he could be a really good player. So I just, Xavier Thomas was a player who had injuries throughout his career at Clemson, but he had a good final year, a great all-star game performance, worked out well. I think they got some guys that are going to be impact players, but especially those first 2 picks. I thought it was a great start for them.
I didn't get a chance to see Belichick. I was actually doing a draft watch along as well. Was Belichick great or what?
I didn't see enough. I mean, there were parts where I thought he was really good. I think it was an interesting format, right?
Sure, yeah. Yes.
McAfee and it was funny for like a little bit to have it. I don't know if you've seen where they have like the mad Mel Kiper who's like sitting there cursing and saying all sorts of crazy stuff as if he's Mel Kiper. Does a good impersonation, like just as good as Caliendo's, I think, are in that neighborhood.
Right.
But then to have this like crazy person doing an impersonation and then like the greatest coach in the history of the NFL having to follow that up. It was like, I don't know. It was funny, but it was really bizarre, which is what makes them interesting at times is they can pull that off and have all like the craziness and the nonsense and then like Nick Saban joining and all sorts of stuff. So I'd like to see him in a different format, but just to see his board and where his mind goes to, I did love it. It was sneaky, just like taking his little shots at Drake May.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Footwork's not there.
Right.
Third down conversion's not there. And I was like, a little bit of that scorn stuff. So there were some, and again, I probably watched, 10% of their broadcast, but there were a couple things I caught that I thought were pretty interesting.
I saw a clip that wasn't highlighting Bill Belichick. It was highlighting Oz, the mentalist, correctly picking, I think, the first 13 picks. And they're revealing it with Bill Belichick in the middle because he was on the set when they were doing this. And Bill seemed just like completely impressed by Oz, the mentalist. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, Bill Belichick is a big Magic fan all of a sudden.
Yeah. I mean, that sums it up, right?
Yeah.
It's like we got this opportunity. And again, like Bill has an opportunity 1 year, and we have as fans an opportunity for 1 year to see. And is he a great drafter? No. Is he unbelievable with personnel and understanding? Like all the stories I've heard and the way he teaches scouts, and his dad was a scout. Like there's so much information. If you truly love the game or you're just interested in like how the operation works, there's so much to get, like juice to squeeze out of this thing, right? But we got Mad Mel Kiper MFing people and Oz the mentalist, so. And
in fairness,
it makes.
I want to blast McAfee, but it's a page on the LeBatard Show.
I was going to say, in fairness, we would have completely wasted his time as well. Like, we started this interview asking you how many Toto songs you know, so we're no one to say anything.
Right. Yeah, right. No, and I've always loved your show because I steer towards the crazy and like the off the wall stuff. But it was just interesting because next year he's going to be a head coach somewhere. And so we're not going to get this until he's like in his like mid-late 70s is my guess. Maybe another crack at seeing Bill like pick by pick with his draft board off of his analysis and tape work. And we've got this like circus going on around him, And it's brilliant.
I know you're upset, but I'm so proud of McAfee.
I love it. Yeah.
No, I'm not upset. I'm not upset. I wish I was more upset, right? Because it's like I want to be mad at them, but it's like this is phenomenal.
Right. It's funny.
Yeah.
Journey or not journey?
Ooh. Yeah, let's go.
Oh, you're ready for it, huh?
All right. Yeah, this is not gonna be good for my career. We're good.
Oh, you'll be fine. Stop it. Feel free to tell us where you're going next if you want or when you want,
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I'm happy for Todd McShay. He's spending time with the kids,
Yeah.
How many exactos before we get to journey or not journey? How many exactos did you get?
I didn't do a mock draft.
Oh, wow.
I got 85 out of the top 100 and was the best out of 75 people who put it into the huddle report. Just saying. Not even a humble brag. Like, go bleep yourself, McShay's not working this year. He's not doing the work. Okay.
85.
Sorry, that's the prick in me every once in a while. It comes out.
No. We love it. All right. Journey or not journey? Are you ready, Mikey A? Do you have songs?
Yeah. Okay. I got some songs.
This is great.
All right. We'll start here. Wheel in the Sky.
Yeah, that's Journey.
Wheels in the Sky.
I thought you were going to play. You probably haven't gotten the, you didn't pay the rights to play the music.
No.
Go ahead.
No, we haven't done it.
If I don't know what
Crazy.
based off of the title of the song, I need you guys to like hum it or sing it a little bit.
Okay.
That'll make this bit better. Go
Okay,
ahead.
got it.
Okay. Hold the Line.
Ooh.
Give me a tune to it.
Hold the line. Dun, 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 dun. Love isn't always.
No, not Journey.
Wow, McShay.
Who is that?
Toto. That is Toto.
All right.
But you knew, but now you know two Toto songs.
You know two Toto songs.
Two of their songs, yeah.
I wonder if you'll get a third.
Okay.
The Final Countdown.
Oh, wow. You need some tunes or humming or?
No, I know the song well.
Okay.
Is that Journey? No, not Journey.
That is not Journey. That is Europe.
Yep.
McShay, this is your wheelhouse, man. You're 3 for 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bill's awfully
Rosanna.
quiet and he's not making any expressions. I'm worried about him.
Rosanna.
Humming it for me.
Rosanna.
Rosanna.
Journey.
That is incorrect.
No.
That's
your third Toto song.
Wow.
That's your third Toto song. Told you knew 3 of them.
Okay. All right.
You got one more or no? You're good?
Yeah, any way
Okay.
you want it.
Oh, wow.
That's
Ooh.
Journey.
That is Journey. That is
Wow.
Journey. That'll be their closer tonight.
We are joined now by the great Boomer Esiason, Bengals legend, Maryland legend, Nassau County legend, Suffolk County legend, media darling. I mean, Boomer Esiason has done it all. He is the co-host, the host of Boomer and Gio morning, 6 to 10 a.m. on WFAN in New York. Boomer, thank you for doing this, man.
You know what? It's great to see you guys. I didn't realize it was going to be a packed house like this, Stugotz, but
Yeah.
I look forward to you guys firing questions at me. And I will say this. After talking to you over probably the last 3 weeks a little bit, I'm glad you're not my program director and boss, because you probably would have had me out right on the street with CBS.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's go right there, Boomer.
Yeah.
Were you wow, you got right to it, Booms. I love it.
Yeah.
Did you feel blindsided by CBS?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, when Sean McManus, who did hire me back in 2022, announced his retirement as CBS Sports chairman, I felt like, it was just a natural thing. I wanted to say something at the Super Bowl. I didn't think it was appropriate. I knew that Phil did not want to retire from this particular show. I was ready. 22 years. I have not had a weekend in 40 years, or back-to-back weekends, I should say, in the fall. So, I mean, for me, it's been a great run. And then on top of all of that, I was able to extend my radio program in the morning with WFAN and Odyssey, and the CBS Sports Network simulcast picked us up for another 2 years. So with all of that happening, I was more than happy to step aside. And I had my time there. I love that seat. I cherish that seat. I cherish talking to football fans every Sunday. But, there comes a time where you got to find some time for yourself. And I think this came at the right time for me, at least.
Dan and I have been doing this for 20 years, going to be 20 years in September. The work-life balance becomes increasingly important to me as I get older. So it seems like you're trying to find some of that as you get older, correct?
Yeah, and I run my own foundation, and I had people coming to me talking about work-life balance in 2021. That was like the new thing, because basically that means I don't want to show up to work on, say, Fridays and Mondays, and I only want to work 3 days a week in the office. And I wasn't down with that. I wasn't like that. I'm always a guy that's a worker bee, so I show up. And I think it's one of the reasons why I lasted so long at CBS. They always could count on me to show up and give good content and not be afraid to say anything that may have been controversial. And I have to say, not one person at CBS, not one boss, not one producer, not one director ever came to me and said, you know what, maybe you should back off with that kind of criticism about a number of controversial topics that we had to deal with in the NFL over the last 20 years. So I love my time there. I have no ill will towards anybody. As a matter of fact, I texted the guy that handles all the lunch for everybody, and I said, you may get a text from me in the middle of the year when I come back to visit for a day.
What, for lunch and order?
yeah, exactly. But, I'll tell you, Stugotz, the thing is that, ESPN went through this a couple of years ago.
Sure.
There's earnings calls in April, at the end of May, or at the end of April, early May. The first quarter of the year is down, and next thing they know, they're talking to Wall Street journalists, and they want to make sure that when they do let go of people like Jeff Van Gundy or Mark Jackson or somebody like that, it's in the headlines because it looks like they are shedding salaries, when in actuality, mine and Phil's salary was up. Like, we didn't have a salary. So,
right.
And our time was up. So I think that we got some headlines negative, but that's just part of the course in this business.
I'm certain they're paying Matt Ryan a lot, and JJ, by the way.
Well, Matt had already been on the team, and so was JJ. And both of those guys are going to be great. I called Matt Ryan, and he said, can I call you in the summer? I really want to talk to you about what it means to be on the show and everything. And I said, Matt, there's only really one thing. You're eloquent enough. You're loquacious enough. You look good. You dress great. You're really knowledgeable. You are contemporary, so a little bit more contemporary than I am, of course. And you want to know something? What the most important thing about sitting in that chair is that the people that are watching you on a Sunday need to know that you love to be there.
Right.
Don't ever get bored with the job. If you get bored with the job, then you should leave. But at the end of the day, you got to love that job because the people watching will know if you don't.
Go ahead, Billy.
Terrible advice, Boomer. I feel like you need to go there. You need to tell him the wrong thing. You need to pull a Jay Leno, like what he did with Conan. You tell him like horrible things to do so everyone immediately rejects him.
Bingo.
And then like week 3, they're like, we need to bring back Boomer and Phil. Like, this just is not working.
On a bigger salary.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right.
A much bigger salary.
Exactly.
Maybe I can actually even insult them the way that Pat McAfee insulted Norrie Williamson and get even more money and more power and more control.
Right.
But, I'm not, I went through that way back when, guys, when I got fired by ABC Monday Night Football after 2 years in a booth. And I said some very choice things back then. I'm a little bit older now, a little bit more seasoned. And I had a great run at CBS, so I really have nothing to bitch and complain about these days.
I don't think the McAfee strategy would work at CBS, but I'll tell you where it will work, WFAN. I mean, you can do whatever the hell you want there. But you want to work 3 days a week, work 3 days a week, boom.
The amazing thing
I'll take the other 2, by the way. I mean, just so you know.
I want your guys to know this, that, when you were up for the job and Gio was telling me it was you and everything, and I'm talking to Olivero, who is obviously the market manager, and he's the guy ultimately that's going to decide who the next PD was. And when he told me your name, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, right? Because you'd bring some gravitas to the position, much like Spike Eskin did. And then I started to think, wait a minute, he likes being on the air. And maybe he is buying into this nonsense that Craig Carton had said right before he left to go to FS1, and that is Boomer's going to retire in 2 years. Yeah. So I figured you were going to be a Trojan horse once you got in. Mm-hmm. So, it didn't work out for sure, but maybe next time around it will. But I think Ryan Hurley, for us anyway, at WFAN, it's going to be great.
But of all the media seats you've had, that's the one you covet the most. That's the one that means the most to you, right?
It is. You know why? Because you get to talk about a lot of different things.
Yeah.
On Sunday, I'm talking about coaches and players that are one sport. So this morning I was able to wake up, and what's the first thing they were talking about is the Knicks. And much like you, Stugotz, I grew up on Long Island. I was a dyed-in-the-wool Knick, Met, and Ranger fan. I was a Colts fan because of Burt Jones. But, I know the sporting landscape here, and also playing here for 3 years. I have a really good idea of what was, or what's going on here and how to deliver, a really good show in regards to whatever may be happening for whatever team we're talking about. So there's never a dull moment. And there is something about waking up in the morning and being able to be the first on the air talking about what happened last night. And today was proof positive of how much I really do enjoy it.
Boom. How are you going to spend Sundays in the fall now? I mean, you've been doing the same thing for so long. Does your family know what to do with you at home on a Sunday?
No, they don't. And they won't.
Do they want you home on a Sunday?
I'll probably be out on the golf course early on in September and October. But it's a good question. I have no idea. And with the way the radio works, guys, I'm out at 10:30 on a Friday morning, so it really is legitimately a 3-day weekend.
Right.
And the past 22 years, well, it's 18 years now, because I've been at WFN 18 years. I would leave on a Friday. I would go out to Bridgehampton, and then I would turn around and go back Saturday night, because I had to go back in on Sunday and spend 12 hours at CBS on Sunday, and then watch the Thursday night game, and then get up and do all my responsibilities before Monday morning. So I'm looking forward to the break, and I think Gio's looking forward to me taking a break, simply because I'll have more energy come Monday morning.
How much time does being commissioner of the Feline Football League take up for you, Boomer?
It's not how much time; it's how many dollars per the amount of time that I spend on that.
Yes.
And the one thing I will say is that Howard Stern's wife, Beth, knows how to put on a program, knows how to pay her talent, and it was something that I thoroughly enjoyed.
I mean, this is Golick all over again. I mean, we make fun of Golick because he goes down Radio Row and he's selling beef jerky on one side of Radio Row, and then he's selling diabetes medication going down the other side of Radio Row.
That's great. I love that. The interesting thing is, you got to remember, when I started in this business back in 1998, I think I left the Cardinals making $750,000. Not that, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, but, both J.J. Watt and all these guys and all the different new personalities that are coming into our business, these guys have made hundreds of millions of dollars. I think Matt Ryan has made over $320 million. Man. So, what this does, it gives them an opportunity to stay within the game without having to coach, stay close to the game. And this is one of the reasons why I did it. And it also gave me an amazing platform to tell our CF story, which is really another miracle that my son is at the age of 33 and living a great life now.
I want to talk about that, and we will at the very end of this, Boomer. But I'm wondering, do you like today's NFL? It's changed so much since you were playing, and I'm wondering, do you like today's product?
I do. I like the athletes. I love the wide receivers. I mean, I love the passing game. The top end of the NFL, when you watch some of these quarterbacks play, and I think it's smart that we protect them. They didn't protect us, and I have no gripes against any of that. I mean, we played a different type of game. And our numbers reflect that. And I was talking to Frank the Tank, of all people, at Barstool, and he's a huge, Dan Marino fan. And he goes, "Man, could you imagine if Dan Marino played today?" And I'm like, "No, what about me, Frank? How about if I played today?" So, I mean, I love the game, and I know that the game is faster. I think the game is faster. It's just as physical, if not more physical. And if you've never stood on an NFL sideline, if you get the chance to do it, you have to do it, because you'll understand exactly why the rules are the way they are to keep somebody from killing somebody on the field.
Billy, are you laughing at Frank the Tank, not asking about Booms?
No, I love Frank the Tank, honestly.
Anything surprised you about the draft? Any picks you were like, what the fuck is that team doing?
All right, so I was a big Michael Penix guy. About 2 years ago, I was watching a late-night game, and they were playing somebody, and he was awesome. And I came in on Sunday morning, and Phil Simms kind of knows all these guys. He's really into the younger quarterbacks and watching them develop. And he and his son, Matt, run a quarterback camp, and they help kids, try to find different colleges. So he's really knowledgeable about these people. And I said, man, I just saw this left-handed kid that played for Washington last night, Michael Penix Jr. I mean, he was amazing. And then Phil had this whole dissertation on him being the highest recruited football player in Indiana history, and then all the injuries, and then finally transferring out there to Washington. So when Atlanta took him, everybody was freaking out. And I was not, because I'll compare it to the Green Bay situation when they drafted Jordan Love. They know that Kirk Cousins has probably 2, maybe 3 years left, and they know that this kid is pretty special. And Raheem Morris was out there with the Rams, and he watched, Matthew Stafford throw the football. He's one of the best throwers of the football that we've ever seen. Michael Penix on the other side, the left-handed side, may be the most accurate quarterback I have ever seen. And very rarely does he not throw a spiral. And that is with the college football, which is more difficult to throw than the NFL football. So I think that was a gutsy move by the Falcons. But it was a little bit surprising. I thought he'd be a top 10 pick. I just didn't think the Falcons were going to do what they did, but they secured their future for sure.
Billy, if you want an evaluation of Tua from a lefty quarterback, an all-time great, Boomer would be your guy. I mean, so Boomer, let's do that. Like, what do you think of Tua? Because I've been telling Billy, I don't know if I signed that guy for $55 million a year.
Well, I don't know if I'd sign him for $55 million either, but I don't know what the alternative is. And he and Mike McDaniels seem to get it together. They like each other. They're on the same wavelength. He was in the MVP conversation all the way up until probably about weeks 15 or 16 last year. That's how good he was. And he and Tyreek Hill, they got something special. So, I mean, he's got to be the guy. There's no other guy out there that's going to be able to run that offense the way that he ran it last year. They have to get home field advantage in the playoffs. So they have to go on the road outside in the cold to either MetLife Stadium or up in Buffalo. That's where they run into trouble, or out to Kansas City, as we saw last year. They're not a great cold weather team. And last year, by the way, we all know that defense was decimated by injuries. Yeah. So they need to be healthy, obviously, getting into the playoffs. I think the Jets have passed them in terms of overall talent on the roster. Big question for the Jets is whether or not Aaron Rodgers is going to make it through, and how strong that different type of surgery he had on his Achilles is really going to hold up.
Interesting, Booms, because, I was going to ask you, and I will ask you, do you find it hard to root for Aaron Rodgers?
No, I was happy that the Jets brought him in. The Jets have been messing around with quarterbacks for so long, including me, by the way, that it was nice to see them go after Aaron. And I think last year's team would have been great for him had he been healthy. My thing about him is he's a great football player. I don't really care about his politics. None of that stuff bothers me, because there are other guys in the league that are completely opposite of him politically, but I still love them as players. So whatever the politics are, I don't really care. He's made a lot of money. I'm sure, I guarantee you this, and you can have me back on after this happens. Okay. This has not been announced yet, but that there is a documentary coming on the rehab that Aaron Rodgers went through last year. And it's going to show us that he was ready to play if, in fact, the Jets made it to the playoffs. I guarantee you that that's going to happen.
Right, produced by Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yes, 100%. Yes. They probably sold it to Netflix already.
Boomer, I want to talk just quickly here about the Boomer Esiason Foundation, because you do great work on the air. You've done great work with the NFL, but I think your best work, and the thing you're probably proudest of, is what you do with your son, for your son. So talk about the Boomer Esiason Foundation and what our listeners can do to support that.
Well, first of all, they can go to Esiason.org if they want to see the story and read about what Gunnar and I have been through and what the family has been through. And Gunnar's mom, Cheryl, has saved his life. I can't put it any more plain than that. She sacrificed everything to make sure that he was ready if a new drug had ever come to the market. And quite frankly, that drug did come in 2017, 2018, after Gunnar was out of Boston College, and he was at end-stage illness, meaning a double lung transplant was very close to being necessary. And all of a sudden, this drug comes out. He's on it, and we're playing ice hockey because we play men's ice hockey together. We're on the same team. And this night, we're playing ice hockey about 2 weeks into his drug, the new drug being on the market, and he doesn't come off the ice, and he's not spitting up all of this green stuff on the ice that's coming out of his lungs, because cystic fibrosis lungs are coated with that stuff. It was just a remarkable moment. And all my guys on the team were like, what got into Gunnar? He must be feeling great. I'm like, yeah, I guess he is. I wasn't even thinking about the new drug. And then after the game, he says, let's get some pizza, Dad. And I said, okay. We go to the local pizza joint, and he scarfs down half of a large pizza. And CF kids don't digest food well, so they don't like to eat, especially late at night, because it just sits in their belly. And I looked over at him and I said, how are you feeling? He goes, oh, man, I feel great, man. I feel like I'm starving. I still want to eat some more. And I'm like, I think maybe that drug that you're on is working.
Yeah.
And we kind of had a look at each other. I was crying, because all these years that we raised all this money, invested all this money into biotech and so many things that had missed, this one finally hit. And it's changed his life to the point where now he's 33 years old. He's married. He's got one child. And he's got another one on the way. He's done it IVF. He is the natural father. And it's been a remarkable, remarkable story. And that truly is, like you said, Stugotz, that's the thing I'm most proud of.
Is it more fun being a parent or being a grandparent? Grandparent.
It's a grandparent without question. And they tug at your heart, and you know what? Your kids use them to tug at your heart.
Yes.
You see, it's all political.
Oh, of course.
Everything is political.
Yeah.
I'll give you one other story. So we have a very nice country, like summer home that we've had for 20 years. And it's out in Bridgehampton, Long Island. And Sydney has her daughter, Winnie, during the pandemic, right in the middle of the pandemic. The Islanders have to go to the bubble, if you remember. And they made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals against Tampa Bay. So Matt was gone, I think, for 10 or 12 weeks. So little Winnie's maybe 4 weeks old in August. And Sydney calls me up. She goes, Dad, Winnie really wants to come out to the Hamptons. And I'm doing my show right from where I'm sitting right now.
Right.
Away from everybody, because we were all under pandemic rules at that time.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'm like, she used Winnie at 4 weeks old on me. And I knew that, that was 3.5 years ago. So I knew that somehow, some way, if they want something now, instead of whining for it like they used to do when they were kids, they just use the grandkids as leverage.
Yep. They've got you, Booms. They've got you.